Okay, I am jumping on the live. Okay, Cara is gonna be here in just a second. So, as soon as she's here, let's see if I can find her. Oh, hi, Bobby. Okay, hi, Cadence. As soon as we see Cara, we're gonna get her on. But I'm really excited, you guys. I'm really looking forward to doing this. I've really missed doing the talk show, the Hope with Lauren Kelley talk show. It's something that I just loved doing. And I thought during this quarantine, I can kind of do something very similar, but do it in a more interactive way, because then I can talk to you guys. Oh, Kat, hi! I haven't seen you in so long. Oh, it's so good to see that you're on here. All right, I don't see Carrie yet, but as soon as she's on, we're going to start our interview process. But since it's the first one, obviously, you're going to have to give me a lot of grace because I'm not going to know how to do it perfectly. And I'd love your feedback. I'd love to see what you would like to see from these interviews. But basically, what I really want to do is just shed light on humanity, and help us all to have more understanding and compassion for one another. That's just where my heart is all the time. And so I want to interview somebody every week. We're going to do it Fridays at 4:00, and I want to interview somebody every single week about what it's like during this pandemic and how it's different for them. And oh, she can't find me. Okay, Bobby. So maybe you can text her or something. I'm not sure. Have her look at the Lauren Kelley. She might be looking on my Hope for Hazel account, so we can just make sure she's finding us here. Oh, hi, Craig. It's good to see you. So yeah, I just want to bring us all together and be able to shed light on what it's like for different people during this pandemic, because okay, HOLLIBLU, okay, there she is. All right, let's see. Is it gonna work? It's my first time doing this, so fingers crossed. And Bobby, by the way, oh, yay, she's here.
Hi.
Oh,
I have it's so
you.
bright. Why is my face so bright?
I don't know.
It's so weird. Okay, I'm going to sit back here.
Yes, that's better.
I was trying to get in, but I didn't see that you had a live on. So I was trying to get in. It was really weird.
That is weird. I know, I'm super freckly, and I didn't put any face makeup on, so you can see everything, but I don't mind.
Buble hula girl. I have to say hi to her.
Buble hula girl.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I am so excited. I'm excited that you get to be my first guest with this new project, because I just love your heart, and I feel like our hearts are so similar. And I think the message that I want to get across is, one, how to find hope. That's something we always talk about, but also just shedding light on humanity and going, hey, we all have different struggles. We're all going to experience this pandemic differently. So let's share our stories so we know how to help one another, so we don't feel alone, and also so we don't feel powerless when we need to find ways to help. So
absolutely. Yeah, finding power is so important.
Yes.
And living in a powerful place and not in a powerless place is super, super important.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Well, for everybody watching, and everybody that will be watching when I post this later, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and where your heart is?
Sure. Well, my heart is right over here. It's on this side. Just kidding.
Exactly right here.
From an anatomical standpoint, it's
of course the nurse is going to say that, right?
Right. Sure, that's what you were asking.
Yes, exactly.
So my name is Cara Lunsford. I have been a nurse for 13 years. I started my career in pediatric oncology, as you know. I worked at Children's Hospital for 8 of those years, and I started making some transitions. I did home health, I did hospice, I was a director of nursing, and I also built HOLLIBLU, which is a community of support for nurses. We have an app and we have a website, and really we're just stronger together, right? So like pulling people in, creating community. I'm a big believer in community.
Same.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
it's oftentimes the key to most things. And I know Bobby's watching, so the key is also faith. Like I didn't forget.
Yes. Oh,
Faith,
thanks, Bobby.
um, and and you know, but relying on community and relying on each other
Yes.
is super important to me. Giving people a voice.
Yes, same. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I wanted to accomplish with this
Yep.
series. So I'm glad you're my first
Absolutely.
one.
Oh, good, good. Yeah. I mean, you know how much I love you and your family, and of course, Hazel. And so I think my experience as a pediatric oncology nurse was a big part of why I felt that it was so incredibly important to create support
Yes.
and community for, you know, because I saw it in my coworkers. I
Yes.
saw it in the burnout. I saw it in the caregiver fatigue, compassion fatigue. I mean,
Yes.
it's a real thing, you know, and for those of us who care and love and empathize and have all that compassion, it can be hard sometimes. It can be heavy on the heart, right?
Yes.
Speaking to, you know, what is in my heart. In my heart these days is a lot of faith and a lot of compassion.
Mm.
That's where I try to stay as much as humanly possible. I'm
Uh,
human, so
yes. We're
sometimes
not always gonna be perfect.
I get sucked in and I
Yes.
spiral sometimes, but for the most part, you know, reminding myself to be in faith and things are going to, and that gives you hope.
Yes. Yeah. And I think for me, that's something that I learned so much during the journey of Hazel's treatment was how integral having a community around you was, not just to help with, you know, laundry and dishes and things like that. Well, all of that was so valuable, but also finding people who understood and see you and hear you and have compassion so that you don't feel alone in the world, because you can feel so isolated. And I feel like during this pandemic it's been very similar to what life with childhood cancer is like. And I've been feeling very triggered with certain things, and in some ways it's been really incredible to see the whole world is experiencing it, so you don't feel quite as alone, because when you're in childhood cancer it's such a limited world. But I also find that sometimes it gives me more anxiety because everybody else is experiencing it and there's nobody there to say, hey, this is going to end. You know, we're all kind of struggling in our anxieties and stuff. But so I can't decide if I like that we're all in it together or if it's a little bit more anxiety inducing. But I think that that community and that support is what is integral in survival. And I love what you said with compassion fatigue, because I'm the same. I want to help everybody and I want to be there for everybody. And sometimes it's like, okay, like I have to make sure I care for myself too. So,
Yeah. And I
uh,
think that that's where faith comes in, is that, you know, I know Bobby's joined us here and she's
yeah,
watching, and I've relied so much on Bobby Vogel and her teachings, and it's helped me so much that, like, when I have that compassion fatigue and I feel like I'm supposed to be doing all this stuff and I'm supposed to be helping all these people and
mm-hmm.
and then sometimes that's when, like, coming back to like my, like, the faith that everything is as it should be
Mm,
and everyone has their life purpose and everything is by design, and that some people have to go through what looks like hard things, but there's a reason for it, and you
yeah,
can't save everybody, because it's like sometimes that's not what you're supposed to be doing, right? Like
yeah,
that's that you they have to go through those things, or they
yeah,
have to, you know, for, and we may not understand it. There was like
yeah,
many times, right? Like especially as an pediatric oncology nurse, like it was very hard to understand
yes. I'm in that
why certain
struggle right
things. Yeah.
now. I think
Yeah.
for me, it's that's been the toughest line for me to walk is having faith and trusting in God, understanding more than I do, but also going, it doesn't seem like Hazel should have left. You know, it doesn't feel fair that she suffered. Like I would have done it in her place. And so I'm still in that struggle of trusting and knowing and understanding. So it's really
Yeah.
encouraging and to hear from people like you. And I think it's such a good perspective to keep sharing. So I'm really thankful
Yeah.
that I know you and thankful
And
that
that
you're serving.
doesn't diminish, like, you know, I think having faith or having a belief that things happen for a reason does not diminish the fact or that things are still hard.
Yes. Yes.
We still feel grief. We still feel suffering because we love.
Yes.
You know, we are given this amazing ability to love. And
Yes.
when you love, then you grieve
Mm-hmm.
when that person is not in your sight anymore.
Yeah, the
When
more
you
you love, the more you're going to grieve.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's a double-edged sword, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for sure, because there's plenty of people out there that, and you included, that I've said this before in other podcasts or other videos that you know I would never in a million years go to a parent and say, well, it happened for a
For a
reason,
reason.
like
Yeah.
like
Yes, which I've had
it's
people say. It is
of
hard.
course,
Yeah.
maybe somebody feels that way, but then that's where you lean on compassion, and
Yes.
you say, what, even if I have to believe that in order for me to continue to do my job, and that's like a belief I have to hold on to in order for me to
Mm-hmm.
continue to do this work, I can still have compassion
Yes.
for what someone's going through and the suffering that they're going through,
Yeah,
right?
and they might have a different opinion.
Of
And
course,
I
yeah,
think that's
they
always something to consider.
yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it's 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 a belief, it's a foundation that for me works so that I can continue on my life purpose and I can
Yeah.
continue to do the work that I do. But it's having compassion and understanding that everybody else has a foundation that they work from.
Yes. Yeah. Well, on that note, I would like to see, because that's always been a part of your job, but now with this global pandemic, I would like to know kind of how have things changed for you, and how are you utilizing those beliefs and those foundations in this kind of new crisis?
I'm glad you asked that. So it's kind of an interesting, experience for me, to be honest, because my job right now is to support nurses
Yes.
across the board, you know, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if you're in New York, if you're in California, if you're in Washington, to support nurses, hear them, see them, and just value and have empathy for what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I want to make sure that I'm trying to spread hope, that I am not perpetuating fear.
Yes.
I think it's really important that we remember that fear is a very low vibration, and it
Mm.
very rarely serves us in any capacity,
Yeah.
except for maybe to run from the bear.
Yeah, it has a purpose, but
There's a fight or flight that we're
yes.
supposed to, like, that's appropriate, right? Like,
Yes. Yes.
and so there are times for sure
But
when
we
you're
give it
going to,
more value. We give it more
yeah,
value than we ought to.
yeah.
Yes.
And, to marinate in fear, to
Mm.
dwell in it, is very rarely useful.
Yeah.
So what I find is my role is to listen to people, hear them, value them, validate them,
Mm.
and then also try to guide them and say, there's hope. This
Yes.
will be over. If you feel like you need to be protected, there's all these things you can try and do to try and feel like you're protected. If
Yeah.
you need to bring a mask from home because that makes you feel powerful and strong and protected, then wear a mask from home. who cares what anybody says?
Yeah.
You know?
I'd love for you to shed some light on what it's been like for nurses right now. I mean, we see a lot of stuff on the news, but as a person who is really connected and who has been a nurse herself and who is supporting nurses all around the country, what has been some of the stuff that you've heard and what it's been like during this pandemic for them?
Sure. So, you know, it's interesting. It's a mixed bag.
Yes.
So, we've done a survey. We did a nationally recognized survey about a month ago, and then we just did another one today. In 3 hours, we had 800 responses to our survey.
Wow.
In 3 hours today. So people want their voices heard, and it's important to them.
Yes.
But what's really interesting is measuring what it was a month ago and measuring what it is today. Some people are saying, I was so ready for this like influx of COVID to come. I was getting ready for it. Our hospital was getting ready for it. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of us got laid off because there weren't enough elective surgeries being done. They couldn't afford us. They furloughed the doctors. And the huge pandemic or that they were expecting in their hospital
hasn't happened in their community.
Hasn't happened. And now there's like this widespread, unemployment, amongst not just nurses. I mean, like amongst, everyone, obviously. And so there's that side of it, right? So there's the nurses who are like, who knew that I was going to be out of a job?
Yeah.
And if I want a job, maybe I have to go to New York and do a travel assignment, right? And I have to go into the hotbed. Then you have the people that are, in Elmhurst. Oh, I think I didn't. I don't want to missay their name, but there's certain like hospitals and where it's really bad, really bad. Like, for the nurses, it feels like, a war zone for some of them, that they're exhausted. They have traveled to be a travel nurse, and they've accepted a 21-day assignment where they work 21 days in a row.
Wow.
And they work in like the hardest of conditions. Yeah. And they see stuff that no one ever imagined they would be seeing. They have family members kind of clawing at them as they go into into work, saying, please say hello to my husband. Please, he's in room 400, whatever. And can you please tell him I'm outside? These are things nurses never had to deal with before. Yeah. We never had to face that kind of stuff before. People kind of pleading with you, holding up phones and tablets, so that loved ones could see their dying family member for the last time, being pseudo family members, right? Being family to patients. Yes. Because they don't have family with them. These are things that hurt your heart, and they hurt your soul.
Yeah. And what is HOLLIBLU doing right now to support the nurses that are going through stuff like that?
Well, we're trying to create as many resources as possible. We have a website where we have a resource page where they can find mental health support. They can find, anything we can find that is giving free or discounted services to nurses. We just kind of funnel it all into like one place. Like, we want you to come here. We want you to find what you need. One of my co-founders is a wellness practitioner, and he is in meditation and yoga and wellness, and he actually created a meditation playlist just for nurses.
Oh, that's incredible.
That's on our website, so they can go to our website and listen to these meditations. There's 11 of them.
That's amazing.
And we really just try to, like, by doing the surveys, we're actually doing a Do Better challenge. So right now we're challenging by using this survey platform and using the company Feed Trail that we're working with to do these surveys. we're challenging companies to do better for their nurses. So we're going to them and we're saying, if you do this Do Better challenge with us, then we'll give you like this seal. It's like a Do Better champion seal for
I
their,
love that.
and then we'll give them, visibility on our website and on Show Me Your Stethoscope's website, because we have a combined group of almost 1 million nurses. So, we're kind of encouraging them, and then I do a webinar with Bobby Vogel
I just
every
saw that
Saturday.
comment.
Oh, did she say?
Yeah.
She must have been sending it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, every Saturday at 11:11, we do a webinar. And that link is in our bio on Instagram, and you can pretty much find it anywhere if you go to our website. But yeah, those are some of the things that we're doing. Bobby's been super great at helping nurses to kind of focus on faith, healing, life, and purpose, and helping them to feel protected and, empowered.
Which is something of value to everybody, not just to nurses. So I'm
No,
so
and
glad
anyone can join. We invite everybody to join, no
Yeah.
matter what.
I love that. So as a person like me who is not a nurse but wants to help, what kind of things can we do to support the nurses in our lives or in our communities that would actually benefit them? Because I know that sometimes there can be some thoughtless generosity that can happen in a time like this, where people are trying to do their best in helping, but then can sometimes actually be making it harder for somebody, because that happened to us too. And I'd like to know, straight from somebody who has that experience, what can somebody like me do to help the nurses in our lives?
I think the thing that nurses, and I don't want to speak for all nurses, because, of course, everybody's got their own opinion. And hey, by the way, anyone who's down here watching, go ahead and put your own thing in.
Yeah. Leave a comment. Let us know.
Yeah, leave a comment, But I think it's interesting. There's this mixture of feelings around like being called a hero, right?
Yes.
And nurses are like, we're not heroes. We do this every single day.
Yes.
We just haven't really been seen or acknowledged or really appreciated for it.
Yes.
In the past. And to be honest, we never really expected like a huge amount of praise or.
Yes, you did it because it's where your passion was.
Yeah, we did it because we wanted to change lives. We wanted to affect people's lives. We don't do it for the money. We don't do it for the accolades. We know that's not the reason.
Yes.
So really,
oh, sorry.
God is calling.
I know. He's like, I affirm what you're saying. Okay,
pick it up.
Get the phone.
Pick it up. It's God calling.
Oh my gosh. He's
That's
affirming
awesome.
what you're saying. I like it.
Right? But I think like the most that we can do for nurses is promise them that in the future, that not just now, that we won't forget them.
And we will see them. Yeah.
That we will see them. We will value them. We will treat them as human beings.
Yes.
Even though we know that we're dealing with families and people in the hardest of times.
Yes.
We have thick skin. We can take a lot. So the smallest amount of just, if you're having a bad day and you've lashed out at your nurse or it's always nice to say, I'm so sorry. I know you're just here to help me.
Yes.
I'm sorry that I took that out on you, or I know you're doing the best you can. I know you're juggling a lot. I know you have probably so many patients. So it's really, like Bobby said, wrap them in light, send them love, send them light, protect them,
Yeah, and especially during a time of crisis such as this, I think that it's so important to hold them up. And like you said, that word hero can be a little difficult. We had the same thing, childhood cancer kids are often called warriors and heroes. And yes, they are doing very brave and heroic things, but they didn't choose to do it. Right. And they have to fight for their lives every single day. And if I could have, I would have taken that from Hazel. And so I have that same kind of mixed feeling about the word, but I do see that it does take a very, very strong heart and very strong will to keep going in the midst of crisis, in the midst of hardships, and seeing some of the things that you've seen. And I mean, I'm not saying that I've seen it as much as you have, but being in the hospital as long as I did, and some of the things that Hazel went through and the friends went through, it can be tiring to the soul.
Sorry.
That's okay.
That's what happens when we're all staying at home. You get a call from God. You get a dog running out and barking. Like it's all part of the stay at home.
I love it. See, and that's why I want to do it, because, and there's God again. Seriously, you guys.
We're not done with the IG Live yet. Bobby, how come you can't speak to God and tell God we're not available yet?
Yeah, see, and that right there, see, this is such an example of how incredible life is, that we could be talking about something so heavy or experiencing something so heavy, but still find moments of joy and laughter and love. And I think that was the thing that I learned the most from Hazel, is that she could literally be throwing up and crying one second, and then the next second just be playing hide and seek with the nurses on the floor, you know. And I think that that's something that we have to remind ourselves during this time is, yes, this is a hard, scary process. It's been really difficult on my end. It's been very triggering, and I've had to deal with some of the PTSD side effects from that. But I'm trying to acknowledge there's still life that happens in between. And there's still moments like that that you can cherish and you can hang on to get you through until this season has passed. And I hope that the nurses are hearing that. And that's why I wanted to have you on today, was to kind of share that side, and share what nurses are going through, and then how best we can help. Oh my goodness. Okay, I got to take it off the hook.
You can take it off the hook. Go ahead.
God's still going to call. Hold on. Okay. It is off the hook, at least for now, and then we'll see what happens.
It's so funny. Yeah, I so appreciate that. When I started with HOLLIBLU a couple years ago, one of the things that I was so passionate about and I was really trying to focus on was trying to spread awareness to the public about nurses. I was like, the public needs to champion for these nurses. Like they, the hospitals and these facilities, they have an agenda. They have,
they have a lot to worry about too.
They have a lot to worry about too. But, when all of a sudden patient satisfaction started becoming a priority for hospitals, I was like, what is it that you think is going to make patients satisfied?
Yes.
It's how their nurses are, are their nurses happy to be there? Have their nurses peed? And did they eat today?
Yes.
It's like, it's directly correlated, right? Like between, so it's like, they're like, oh my gosh, we're all worried about patient satisfaction. And I'm like, you realize where that comes from, right?
Yes. And that you need to take care. It's like putting the oxygen mask on first.
Yes, you have to take care of those nurses.
Yeah. Now the phone's making noise. Hold on.
I love that you have a landline.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's like an old vintage phone.
Oh my gosh, look, I'm going to show you.
Okay, let's see. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Okay, now it's ringing again.
That's
right, I'm gonna just answer it. Hold on.
You should just answer. It's probably something important.
Oh, okay.
Hello?
All right, it's my daughter. It's my daughter's friend. They keep calling. That is so funny. But yeah, here's mine. Hold on.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny that you have a vintage phone and I have a vintage phone. And they're both working phones.
I think we were meant to be friends or something.
I know. It's Dawn. That's funny. Bobby said it's Dawn calling.
I know. She said, is this a bad time? It was me. I'm like, come on. That made me laugh. Oh. Okay, yes, I do have a landline because of a lot of different reasons, and I'm not going to get rid of it because it's awesome.
Yeah, I actually have a landline. You want to know why I have a landline?
Yeah, why do you have a
I'm gonna
landline?
tell you like and this is actually goes back to a big reason like why I chose nursing.
Hmm. Who would have thought?
So
Landlines and
who
nursing.
would have known, right? So when I was 9 years old, my grandmother was babysitting me,
Hmm.
and she had a heart attack,
Oh,
and
wow.
she died. And I had to call 911, and it was a super traumatic experience at the time.
Of course.
And I felt powerless. I felt helpless. And I know that I made like this decision at the time, like I am never going to feel that way again.
Yeah.
I am going to know what to do if something happens to someone, if I need to, recover them in some way, if I need to do CPR, I'm going to know what to do. I'm never going to feel like that again.
Hmm.
And I kind of like made this vow to myself. And after that, I had decided, like once I had a child, that I always had to have a landline
Yes.
because I was
You
I
just
was
never know.
afraid. I was afraid that he wouldn't be able to get into a cell phone, or if my
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mother-in-law was babysitting him, that he wouldn't be able to just pick up the phone and
Yes.
make a call. So it was all kind of stemmed back from that, and a big reason why I became a nurse was just because
Hmm.
of that experience that happened for me.
Hmm.
I now see it
Oh,
as something that happened for me.
yeah.
At the time, I didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
And for many, many years, I didn't see it that way. But now I see that I have become a nurse.
Hmm.
And that was probably a big part of like
Yeah.
why.
And you can honor
And
your grandmother in that.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it does.
Georgie's here. Hi, Georgie.
Hi, Georgie. It doesn't explain why I have an old phone.
Yes.
I just really like the style
Me
because
too.
you can see like in my room I have like this really, steampunky
I
kind of,
love it. I love
yeah.
it.
Um so it just fit better with
Yeah,
my
same with
whole.
me. I'm very antiques and vintage style. This is my office, so like even my couch, it's this gold velvet tufted couch. It wouldn't fit anywhere else in my house, but
Well, remember I made the comparison of you. I said you're like Lucille Ball and Rosie the Riveter.
yes, yes, I
Like
think that's
all
about
like
right.
I that's how I describe you when people
Oh,
ask me
thank
like.
you. Thank you. Well, anyway, who would have thought our conversation would go to landlines and nursing because of landlines?
That's what's great is that
I
you
love
just
it.
never know where things are going to go.
Yeah, I love it. Well, before we go, I would love to leave our viewers with a little bit of hope because that's the thing that I'm just trying to continue to spread in Hazel's honor. And so for you, I want to ask every guest, what what does hope mean to you and how do you find it?
Hope means for me that 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 I believe in faith. I believe that I'm divinely guided. I believe that everything is as it should be. And as long as I believe that in my
Mm,
heart, then it's easy to have hope
mm,
because it's all by design.
yeah,
And as long as we're living that way, then we get to live in our life purpose.
yeah,
And if everybody started living in their life purpose, imagine what kind of world we would live in. And that's the hope, right? So for me, that's hope, is
I
that
love it.
everyone will find that and everyone will live in that place.
Yeah. And I think the most important part is to keep talking because it's really hard to find that life purpose on your own because we have a very distorted view of ourselves. But if you continue to be in community with others and they can lift you up and encourage you and say, hey, these are the things I see in you, it can help you find that path, I think. And that's kind of in the position where I'm at is, after Hazel passed, I've been really struggling to figure out my way in the world. And And this is one of those things. And I'm thankful that I have people like you on the journey with me, because it's been such an encouragement. And to be able to hear those things and hear Bobby and all of her comments and talking about faith and talking about, you know, finding that hope and building community and supporting one another. It's been such a tremendous gift. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. You know how much I love you,
Oh,
and how much I love your family, and you're doing amazing things, and we are doing amazing things together, and we will continue to do all of this.
Yes. And Hazel too.
And Hazel, there's our girl. Oh, I love that. Somebody
Yeah.
wrote something really nice and long. Oh, that's my wife that wrote something really
Dawn.
nice and long.
All right, let's read it. Think about past experiences that at the time I thought were hopeless, and remember how wrong I was. Life always unfolds as it should. Sometimes we suffer to heal others, and sometimes it's to grow. Thank you for that, Dawn.
Oh,
Love that.
wow. So insightful.
Like, maybe that's why you married her.
Maybe we have to do IG Lives more often.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being my first guest. And I hope that you can tune in next Friday at 4 o'clock. I don't know who it's going to be yet, but that's kind of the fun, exciting part of all of this. So
maybe it'll be Bobby. I mean, Bobby's on here. Like, maybe you should have Bobby.
Yeah, maybe Bobby's next. Or Dawn, apparently.
I mean, Dawn. Yeah, we should have Dawn.
Or HOLLIBLU. I would love to interview Holly. I would love to interview Holly.
Holly would be more than happy to join. You might have a hard time getting her off.
Yes, I would have a very hard time. But if we could share a drink together, then I would be more than happy.
You're not going to have to twist her arm. You won't have to twist her arm for that.
I love it. All right, you guys. Well, thanks for joining us. And we will see you next Friday at 4 on Instagram Live. Cara, I love you. I love you all for watching. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.